Am I the a-hole for asking my sister to get lost and telling her that her pregnancy is not my problem? My 32 male have a sister Andrea, 27 female. The issue is that they have always showed her more preference. And although I was not badly treated, they hardly paid any attention to me. Because she's the golden child, I suppose. She herself treated me with disdain. Before our parents died, they left everything for her instead of splitting it with me and Will. I knew that she herself had been behind this. My parents literally told me, Andrea talked to us about how she's more deserving, and we can see how that makes sense. Do you have any objection to us giving everything to her? After all, you're older and should be more understanding, etc. I was disappointed, but just told them that I don't care and did not argue. That was a while ago. She got into some issue and had to mortgage the house, and squandered the wealth over a period of time. As she requires help now, she turned to me and asked me to help her. She's also pregnant right now. I refused and told her that I don't want anything to do with it, and that is not my problem. But she pleaded and cried so much that I felt bad. But I told her that she's got to reap what she's sown, and that is just karma getting back to her. In the end, she told me, I know how to tarnish your reputation by using this very pregnancy. In the end, I asked her to get lost and kicked her out of my house. She had shown up there to ask for help. I wonder whether I did anything, well, wrong, as she is my sister after all. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You do you. She's just going to have to figure life out herself. Thanks. It's just some people said that she's my family after all, and I got wondering. Family is an F-word if it's used to abuse others. You shouldn't feel obligated to continue bailing her out. Not the a-hole. Your sister screwed you over and now wants your help? She's so used to being the golden child and getting her way that she actually thought you would favor her too. Unbelievable. My sister is also the golden child and has lied over the decades to my parents, resulting in their rejection of me. In my opinion, this is a form of murder. Like her sister, she stole my parents from my life. There is nothing okay about this. I totally get your frustration, and I'm very sorry you lost your family this way. But this is not inherently your sister's fault. It's your parents for raising the two of you this way. In the end, it's them who created this situation, by creating the monster that she is and letting her do the things she did. Not the a-hole. It sounds like she's used to having someone to bail her out, and now that your parents are gone, she expects you to take their place, especially since she has made a series of bad decisions. I suspect that even if you said just this once, if you did help her out, you would be opening the door to her constantly asking you for more and more. Exactly this. My older sister is the same way. Dad bailed her out of everything. Now that he's gone, she expects everyone else to fix her problems. She actually blamed me for not being able to keep her cat for her when I donated a kidney to another sister. Some people are just awful and not worth giving space in your brain. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my bully I feel no sympathy for her? There's this one girl, 17 female at school, who just got diagnosed with terminal cancer. She would bully me, 17 males, since I was 13. Usually just call me names and make snide remarks. But one time, she made fun of my dead mother, which is the one that stuck in my head for so long. It was constant and relentless bullying, and made me feel low and inferior. She stopped at 16. My guess was because her father died in a car accident and realized how she made me feel, though she never apologized. So she got terminal cancer and made some big posts on her social media and got lots of attention. When she saw me in school, she was tearful and apologized for how she treated me. Honestly, I feel nothing. I said, I don't accept your apology, nor do I offer you my sympathies, and walked away. I could hear her cry even more. A friend agreed with what I did, but all her friends gave me grief. I tried to ignore them when I see them, but they just come at me like rabid animals and say stuff that I should say sorry and that I'm an a-hole. When her mother confronted me on what I said, telling me that I should have at least offered sympathy because she's dying, I only said, just means I no longer need to deal with her. Then blocked them all on social media. I don't know. Maybe I was too harsh? But if I'm being honest, I don't feel sympathy for her. I worked through my resentment with a therapist, and honestly, I feel nothing for her. No hatred, but no sympathy either. When she dies, it will just be another day for me. Maybe this makes me an a-hole, but I can't help how I feel, and I spoke what I've felt, just as she did. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was cruel to you for years. You are under no obligation to accept her apology or offer sympathy. We are in the fool around and find out era, and people need to realize there will always be consequences for their actions. Also, all these people giving YTA votes for what you said to her mother, which isn't even what you're asking judgment for, are wrong. This woman is also bullying you. Obviously, your daughter learned this behavior from somewhere, and I'm gonna say it was probably from mom. Yeah, their worlds have changed drastically over the last year, but that doesn't mean you automatically have to give them any sympathy or forgiveness. And as one commenter said, maybe she should have parented her child better. If either of them or her friends continue to harass you, especially in school campus, report every single one of them to the admin. When I was in high school, a family member who I despised because she was a truly evil person passed away slowly and painfully from cancer. It wasn't a death I'd wish on anyone. That said, I wasn't sad she was gone, and that felt wrong to me, like I should at least think good of her now. When I expressed all that to my mom, she said something that has stuck with me to this day. Just because someone dies, even if they die in a terrible way, it doesn't suddenly mean they were a good person. Similarly, this girl is suffering something awful, and it's tragic. But that doesn't automatically mean she's forgiven for everything she's done. There was a guy in high school who died after he was hit by a car, and the entire school, tiny charter school, made a huge deal about it. Offered kids time off for grieving, even had a candlelight vigil. I think his parents set up a scholarship in his name. Kids were acting distraught at the loss of poor Adrian. But to be honest, the guy was a jerk. He hated most of those kids at our high school. It was intentionally irritating to most people. He had extreme beliefs, which were fine, but loved berating people over things like commercialism if they bought a soda. The night he died, he was hanging out with his college friends. They threw his glasses into the road, and somehow he thought it was a good idea to walk blindly into the road if speed limit 45 to go get them. An old lady hit him going 35, and he died. So like just a stupid way to die. It is tragic his life ended early. I think he might have gone on to do some good things. But I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't crying at a candlelight vigil for his soul. I wasn't wearing black armband in remembrance. It's like, yeah, that sucks. Not the a-hole. Someone who is truly sorry would accept that you do not forgive her. She would entitle to her friend/mom if she was truly contrite. You owe her nothing. It's not like you went out of your way to shove it in her face. As a matter of fact, you never even retaliated when her father died. Having terminal cancer doesn't absolve anyone of being an a-hole. And the bully made sure to apologize very publicly with tears, and an audience ready to clap at her amazing act of being so mature. It's almost as if the girl doesn't care about OP at all, but instead saw an opportunity to make a scene and get a shower of cookies. I believe in apologizing publicly if the offense was also public. But apologizing is about taking accountability for your actions. The bully just made a scene and put OP in yet another crap show. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother that it's only his son's fault that he was injured? My 41 male nephew Ian, 9 years old, visited us for Thanksgiving a while back. He was accompanied with his parents and children, including Ian. I have a bulldog in my house, which they know about. I told the kids to stay away from it, which they agreed to. It doesn't like strangers, and I did not want to take any chances. As they had said fine, well, I did not bother about it again until the incident happened. Ian walked towards his doghouse and began to yell and tease it. He apparently got so near him that the dog bit him and injured his hand. He screamed, and it attracted our attention. We rushed out and took him away. The dog was chained, but he was still barking. We took him to the hospital, but everything was confused as my sister-in-law was scared as well, including Ian's older sister. My brother David, 44 male, now accused me by saying that it's my dog and that I should pay the bills now. I refused, saying that I'd warned them and that it's Ian's fault. But he said that doesn't matter as it was my dog. We got into an argument and he threatened to sue me later and said I already know that he can't afford the best lawyers as he himself is one. I told him I am not doing it, but should I have? It's my dog and I am his uncle, so should I have paid? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Personally, as a Canadian, I don't think you're the a-hole, but I really don't know how much that would cost. 9 years old is old enough to know better and he was warned. It's just I had warned him. I'm not happy he was injured, obviously, but it sounds really unfair to expect me to pay when I had told him before. The child and his parents learned an important lesson that day. Keep your distance from dogs you aren't familiar with, especially when the dog is in a safe space, indoor cage, or doghouse. Ian had a fool around and found out rating of 7 that day. He's lucky it wasn't his face. Not the a-hole. You warned him. He didn't listen. Parents should watch their own child if he wants to meet the dog. My ex used to tease my grandma's cat. Not maliciously, it was playful. But when the cat would lay down in her box, she was done. Tell me why I had to repeatedly tell this 20-plus-year-old man why he needed to leave the cat alone when she was in her box. He wasn't one of my best decisions. Not the a-hole. Even without a warning, teasing a chained dog is an a-hole move. I completely disagree with people who say 9 is too young to understand this. 9 is plenty old, especially in combination with the warning you gave. But seriously, even without a warning, a 9-year-old should know better. Your brother sounds like a serious a-hole. He's threatening to sue you? Jesus. The dog was a hazard limited to one part of the yard, with warning provided to all. At that point, it becomes no different than any other geographical defined hazard, like a cliff edge or a river or a pit. If an adult is to blame, it is the child's parents for not supervising their child. If a child walked off a cliff that the parents knew about, who would you blame? The first dog I lived with was a wolf/husky cross. While my parents' dog was friendly, it was also very big. We grew up learning to read doggy body language, and by age of 3 years knew when to leave the dog alone. We were also explicitly told by my parents' friends when to stay away from their dogs. Had we been bit, none of the dogs would have been blamed. In fact, my father's first question would have been, "Why were you pestering the dog?" Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom if she acknowledges her grandson, I won't talk to her anymore? I, 28 female, have a brother Elijah, 24 male, I do not speak with. I consider him dead to me. He molested my sister, has allegedly violated multiple women, and went to jail for a vague child exploitation charge, which we all presume is kiddie porn, since he's been caught multiple times talking to minors. My parents still talk to him for some ungodly reason. Last night, my father called me to say, "You're an aunt." When pressed, he said Elijah has a 1-year-old they just got the paternity tests back from. I said, "Then no the heck I'm not." Dad pressed, and I responded more firmly, "No, I am not an aunt." My parents know my sister Ruth, 21 female, and I do not have a relationship with this man, and actively hate him. My other sister has a very distant follow on Instagram kind of relationship with him. My mom got into a fight with Ruth, who called me in hysterics, because she and my other sister weren't excited about this baby. Elijah has admittedly beaten me to everything. He got a car first, that my parents paid for. He got married and divorced first, among other things. He has gleefully made a point to beat me to life milestones. I'm engaged and planning on having children a year or so from now, and I've always wanted to have the first grandchild. That is where I think I might be the a-hole. Perhaps my judgment is clouded with bitterness. I told my mother if she acknowledges this baby as her grandchild, I will no longer have a relationship with her, and my children will not have a relationship with her. To me, I can pretend she doesn't still have a relationship with Elijah if it's behind closed doors and she keeps her mouth shut about it. But if she allows this child to come and go in her life, she is openly recognizing her relationship with Elijah, and I can't forgive that. I am too protective of Ruth, and I feel like she's choosing this evil man over her other 4 children, one of which is still a minor. My fiancé and I have made it very clear in the past that Elijah will come nowhere near our family. And if she acknowledges his son, she is letting him into her life openly, and we cannot tolerate that. It is both a protection of our future children and a respect for Ruth. I am tired of thinking about my mother's feelings first, and always letting her get her way. I am putting my foot down on this. Am I the a-hole? Edit. It's not even about the baby. It is about allowing Elijah another foothold back into this family. My family has a tendency to forget all past crimes once a cute baby is around. Elijah will be allowed to slip back into our lives, endangering my minor sibling and all children my siblings and I have. Yes, I'm horrible for harboring resentment against an innocent baby. But it's not even about the baby. I cannot and will not allow my sibling to be hurt, or have Ruth be subject to my parents' indifference to her pain. She has already made a choice to not come home for Christmas over this. I would actually start by calling CPS and telling them your monster of a brother had a child, and you fear for the safety of the child. That kid is not at fault and should have nothing to do with it. Your goal should be getting that kid away from his dad and making sure baby mama knows what kind of person your brother is. You should bond with that kid just to make sure it's safe and okay. That doesn't mean you have any interaction with your brother. My brother violated me as well. He had a daughter. I reported him and told his wife and called CPS. The courts forced his rights to be removed and out a lifelong protection order. His daughter will never be forced to deal with him. It wasn't a quick process to get his rights removed. It took time, but it was successful. If he has gone to jail for child exploitation, he probably had to register as an offender. CPS and the child's mother definitely need to know this. I hope either the baby mama or the grandparents get full custody, with no visitation from this guy. If he likes girls and it is a baby girl, she's in danger of her being violated. If he likes girls and it is a baby boy, he will be raised to be just like his father. And take a giant leap back from this dumpster fire. I wouldn't bother with the ultimatum. Your parents are enabling someone who has done some truly horrific things. That makes them just as bad in my book. They clearly see no problem, so it's a lose-lose situation. I fear for that child, but it isn't a scenario that OP needs to be involved in. Plus, OP, do you really want to be around people like this? Would you want your future kids around this? I have spent many years, including before I found out about Elijah, wanting to cut contact with my parents. They have treated all of us like trash over the years. I said I would be out when my youngest sister graduated high school, and then they adopted my youngest brother when I was 19. Now I'm torn between going no contact and losing the brother I adore and maintaining this relationship from a distance for another 9 years. All I have ever wanted is loving parents, and I've been a fool to think they would ever change. I wanted my children to have grandparents. I love my grandparents. I wanted that for them. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend she should have seen her husband and her friend's affair coming? Background. I, 35 female, was friends with Julia, 35 female, and Alex, 34 female. We have been friends since college, but our tiny group expanded from 3 to 7. This story is about Julia and Alex. 2 years ago, we all came to know that Alex was having an affair with a married man. Her excuse was that he was unhappy. That is why he is seeking outside validation. I advised her to stop it, and this is not healthy because he will not leave his wife. She didn't listen. Rather, accused me of being a bad friend. All of my friends were against it, but to them it was not my monkey, not my circus. So, I contacted the wife and told her everything. I knew who the wife was because the married man once introduced us. And everyone in my friend group turned against me. Especially Julia because she thinks I betrayed my friends. She stopped talking to me, because if I can betray a close friend of mine, then I can betray her as well. Alex was heartbroken because the married man decided he wanted to work on his marriage, so he broke things off with Alex. Julia was with Alex, and I was shunned from our group. What happened now? A few weeks ago, I got a call from Julia. She was crying and telling me that Alex betrayed her. She has been having an affair with her husband, and that she is heartbroken because she has supported her, and this is how she repays her? Even our friend group is divided. I was angry at that moment. I mean, she ignored me for 2 years, bad-mouthed me, said that I was wrong. I literally warned her that Alex was toxic. So I told her that she should have expected this from Alex. I mean, did she really think she will show loyalty towards you when she already did something immoral before? I knew the moment she made excuses of having an affair with a married man, her morals were compromised. I am not religious, but I do have minimum respect towards other people and their feelings. And suffice to say, I'm not surprised she went after her husband. I do think I went too far, because some of my other friends said I was too harsh on her. Even if what I said was the truth, I should have been more sensitive, because she is going through a divorce. I do sympathize with Julia, but I also feel like that as friends, sometimes we need to tell them the harsh truth. I know I said all of this when I was angry, but a part of me says she needed to hear that. Was I wrong? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She's responsible for ostracizing you from the group because she'd rather support the cheater than comes to you for sympathy when that backfires on her? You're better off without these friends. Yeah, how in the world are they divided when one friend went after another friend's husband? Kudos to OP for telling the wife before. Right? I didn't even catch that. A-hole Alex slept with her friend's husband and the group is divided? I guess once you've gotten used to accepting a cheater's excuses, it gets hard to draw the line. Not the a-hole. Don't get sucked in. It's been 2 years, and Julia only reached out because she wants your support, not because she wants to be friends. She cut you off for 2 years because you had compassion for the wife of your friend's affair partner. That's insane. You don't need a friend like that. Agreed. She knew OP was the only person with morals who could support her in this split friend group. I, for one, think OP was direct, not harsh. This is one of those instances where the truth hurts. I couldn't be friends or want to reconnect with people who sympathize with serial cheaters. Only until it happens to them, of course. Not the a-hole OP. These types of people are conditional friends. Only when you fit their needs, they'll want you in their life. Not the a-hole. What you tolerate is what you are. Cheating undermines everyone and makes cheater apologists of those who know but do nothing. You have been consistent to your standards. Those who criticize it really are critiquing their own ethics. OP better keep a sharp eye on who in her new friend group thinks she was too harsh. They would have a mark against them in my mental little black book. They're either too gullible or morally gray. Next story. Am I the a-hole? Told my sister her husband is sus. My sister has been having a hard time with her husband. She's the breadwinner and mom of their 2 kids. She works really hard all the time. And him? Not at all. He was unemployed for 10 years and only after COVID got some call center job. Lately he has been accusing her of having an affair. It's really taking its toll on her, as it's obviously not true, and she does not have time for this crap. He's been doing this for years. They had kids and the accusations stopped, but they started again a few months ago. She asked me for advice, and I suggested that they have the Live 360 app on their phones, so he can see where she is at all times to prove he is talking crap. Not the best suggestion, I know, but when I suggested divorce in the past before the kids and it didn't go down too well, as my sister is an asshole, a person who constantly asks for advice, yet always does the opposite of what you told them. Anyway, I suggested this app to hopefully buy her some time to think, etc., etc. She told him about it, and he immediately shut it down. Refused to have the app, and as far as I know, the accusation ceased immediately. I found this suspicious. If you're so convinced she's cheating, wouldn't you like to track her whereabouts? Unless you yourself have something to hide, and therefore don't want to be tracked yourself. I told my sister this, and now she's upset with me, blocked me, and told me to stay away. Am I the a-hole for getting suspicious? Edit. I was in her position once, so felt totally qualified to help when she asked. I eventually left my ex, as turns out he was the one cheating. Since my sister wants to put up with this, the tracking app was the only viable advice I could give. But I'm staying out of it now. Not the a-hole, but I'd just stay out of this from now on. I agree with you that he sounds suspicious. Maybe he's projecting. I don't know. Your sister is apparently repeatedly asking for your advice, so it's not like you're butting in or inserting yourself where it's not wanted. But I recommend not engaging in this topic any further. If she unblocks you and asks for advice on whatever the heck is going on with her husband next time, just say something along the lines of, "Sorry, but I don't want to talk about this anymore. This couple needs therapy, not you." That's my plan, to stay out of it from now on. Not the a-hole. It does sound suspicious, but she keeps asking you for advice, then gets mad when you tell her the truth. Next time she asks something about her husband, just say I'm not getting involved. Every time I give you my honest opinion, you get upset. She's obviously not going to listen to you, so why bother? I have learned my lesson now, finally. Not the a-hole OP. I was once in a situation such as you, only it was with my BFF, whom I thought of and still do as a sister. She would complain about her husband, and I didn't mind letting her vent, but then she would ask my opinion. And if I said something that she didn't want to hear, she would go silent on me for a couple of weeks. It took 2 times for her to do this to me. And the next time she called to vent about her husband, I told her, "Mar, unless you're calling me to tell me you have a plan or solution in what you're going to do with Dave and your situation, I don't want to hear any more complaints, because it affects our friendship. I am punished for giving my opinion when asked, and it really does affect our friendship on both sides when this happens." Well, she stopped calling me with marriage complaints, got a divorce, and our friendship/sisterhood is as strong as ever. I love this. When and if my sister unblocks me, I'll do the same. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband if he fights for custody of his kids, I will divorce him? I, 27 female, I'm vehemently child-free. I am sterilized and have no intention of having or caring for any child. I married my husband, 33 male, last year and did not know he had any children until 5 days ago. I travel for work for myself, and have amazing pay for every few active working hours. I'm a honeymoon planner, owning my own business. We have a joint account for bills and our own separate accounts for savings and fun money. My husband sat me down 5 days ago and told me he hadn't been completely honest with me, and revealed he has 2 children, 10 male and 7 female. He pays regular child support. However, it dips into his fun money, and he wants to be able to have fun like I am. So he said he would fight for 50-50 custody. I was furious he had lied to me, and was even more angry when he told me he wanted 50-50. He works 12 to 16-hour shifts as a nurse, and that would mean I would have to take care of the children when I'm not working or working from home. So I told him if he fights for custody, I will leave him. We have a prenup, so a divorce will be rather simple. I get 100% of my business, all of my savings and fun money in the house, as I inherited it from my grandmother. He called me an a-hole and told me I should step up so that he can have more money in his savings and for fun, and because the kids won't be much hassle due to their ages. So am I the a-hole for telling him I will divorce him if he goes through with filing for custody? Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Not the a-hole. A better title would be Husband is a Freaking Liar and I Am Divorcing Him. And most messed up part is that he wants custody to avoid child support, not because he actually cares about his own children. Well, the kids are 10 and 7 and he has zero custody and doesn't do visitations with them. And it has been like this for at least 3 years. Opie and him have been in a relationship for 3 years at this point, so I think it's obvious he doesn't care about them and never did. Yeah, as a father, this boiled my blood. Wants them in his life simply so he cannot pay child support? What an absolute prickless turd weasel. Wait, he lied to you about having kids, and somehow you're the a-hole according to him? Hell no. That's way too big a thing to tell you about a year after you married. He must suck as a dad, since he would have known he was seeing his kids if he was actually seeing them, and now he wants them only so he can have more money to spend? What a gaping a-hole. Good on you for getting a prenup. Time to exercise it, and exercise him. I know deadbeat dad usually means someone who doesn't pay child support, but I'll make an exception and apply it to this dude. How terrible a person are you, that you could be married for a year, and your spouse never suspects you have 2 children? Either is totally absent, or he compresses any interactions into the time OP is traveling, neither of which is good for the kids or the marriage. And since he's seeking 50-50 custody, it stands to reason they must live relatively close by, so it's not like distance is the issue. This is an absurd situation, and I wouldn't respect someone who stayed married to this man, regardless of his custody decision. By the way, OP, another reason seeking custody isn't the issue. In the event that the kid's mom dies, or is otherwise unable to care for them anymore, your husband is going to have custody no matter what you want. By staying married to him now, you have to acknowledge that possibility, even if everyone hopes it will never happen that way. My favorite part is that he thinks it will be cheaper to raise the kids than pay child support. Yeah, only if you're a crappy dad. Edit/update. Thank you all so much for helping me with this situation. I know his lies were enough for a reason to divorce him, and I'm proud to announce, soon to be ex. I just didn't know if divorcing him with kids in the mix would make me an a-hole, especially because he works so much. He has since vacated my house. I have spoken to my lawyer and am filing for an annulment. I can, because he married me in an act of fraud. The AMA protects me as it was a fraudulent marriage. Thank you all once again. Last story. Am I the a-hole for helping my ex-brother-in-law take his daughters from my sister? I am 24 and my sister Sarah is 28. Since I can remember, I've always been close to my sister. I always had her support and I supported her. When she turned 18, she became pregnant, and my parents demanded that the baby's father marry her, and so he did. 4 years after having their first daughter, they had a second girl. We were all very happy for my sister and my brother-in-law, and they both seemed like a happy couple. But it was all a lie. When my sister's daughters were 6 and 2 years old, my sister found her husband with another woman. That destroyed her and they decided to separate. Despite the divorce, he continued to be a responsible father. He saw the girls almost every day. He moved near his daughters so he could go see them whenever he could. My brother-in-law and I got along very well, but since he hurt my sister, our friendship was destroyed. We hardly spoke again, except for my niece's birthdays. My sister, some time later, met a guy, Carlos. She said that he made her very happy, but the family never managed to like him. He gave me a bad feeling since I met him, and I was always very aware of how he behaved with my nieces. Call me paranoid, but you can't trust anyone. Unfortunately, my instinct did not fail me, and one day I went to my sister's house and only my nieces were with this man. When I arrived, I saw the eldest in the living room and asked her about the youngest. She said that she was bathing with Carlos. I panicked and practically kicked the bathroom door. The guy was watching my niece bathe, so I dragged him out of the bathroom and kicked him out of my sister's house. I don't remember much of my reaction, but according to him, I even hit him in the face. When my sister arrived, she scolded me for treating her partner badly. I told her that this behavior was not normal, and she told me that he was a decent man, and that he always offered to watch the girls in the bathroom in case they had an accident. I told her that was not right for any reason, and she kicked me out of her house and forbade me to return. It was then that I decided to inform the girl's father of all this. He went crazy and was almost going to beat the guy up. But we knew that if he reacted with violence, they could take away joint custody. When it was his turn to see the girls, we both took the opportunity to take them to a doctor. Luckily, there was never any sign of abuse, although we did find out things. The guy always wanted to see them naked. He always tried to dress them or clean them down there, but they say they were very reluctant that he would approach them. With the girl's confession and the statement of a child psychologist, we were able to file complaints. We found out at that time that the guy had a conviction for abusing his daughter when she was a child. The judge gave my ex-brother-in-law provisional custody while he is under investigation. When my sister found out that I helped to prevent them from seeing the girls, she sent me furious messages. I also found out that she knew perfectly well that he was convicted of those crimes, but in her own words, he is already cured. Besides, he only likes blondes. My nieces have black hair, just like their father. I felt so disgusted by these comments. What leads me to tell this is that I handed over the messages that she sent me to the authorities, and from there she cannot see the girls. Before, she could see them at the father's house, now not even with supervision. My mother and father called me trash for snitching on my sister, and the rest of my family calls me a traitor. They want me to retract my report on my sister because they can accuse her of a crime. But I won't do it. She's still with that guy, and although she might end it with him, she could date anyone much worse, and my nieces would be at equal risk. Not the a-hole. Your sister allowed this monster around her daughters, knowing that he abused his own child. He found a woman with not one but 2 children that would allow him to have access to them, knowing full well he was a c***o. Your parents calling you a snitch need to realize that this was their grandchildren that was being abused. But they want their daughter to be happy at the cost of your sister's children and your parents' grandchildren. I would have your ex-brother-in-law make sure that grandparents can't get access to their grandchildren because they knew what was going on and turned a blind eye. Act now. Kids' safety is non-negotiable. Remove them. Call the authorities. Check the registry. No room for hesitation when it comes to protecting children. Oh, hell no. Get those kids out of that house. Call whoever you need to. Check the local offender registry and call the cops. If he was convicted in your area, he will be on it. Maybe that will wake your sister up. Guys like that prey on single moms. Exactly. Those people are looking for single mothers to be close to their children. Don't worry, my nieces are currently with their father while the investigation lasts, and their mother and the guy can't get close to the girls or me. Your parents are sick, and they shouldn't be allowed anything but supervised visits for allowing their daughter to bring an offender into the home.